In this case, this branch needs to be removed. It's roughly about 4 or 5 inches larger than any type of diameter branch that you want to do by hand saw. And in this case, we're using a chainsaw. The trick in this one is first to cut the branch off over here and relieve the weight for the branch. We're trying to prevent it from stripping down this bark over here. So we'll first cut it off over here, and then we'll do a cut up this way, and then a cut on the top to meet to the bottom, so the whole log will fall off. Ready? Was that okay? Next step is to remove and cut this section right here so we don't strip it down. One thing is really important is before you do cut is to look where something is going to be falling. And in this case, we checked before we started doing the cutting, so there was no issue. There you go. Now, since this is pretty much the end of summer and the beginning of fall, the metabolism of the tree is not very high. So we're not going to put any type of tar or anything on this wound right here. Nothing will really hit it, and no sap will really come out or loss of the tree. Plus, this is a carob tree, so it is non-deciduous, so it'll be really growing all year round. There's always been one controversial topic when it comes to pruning trees. One is, do you put tar or don't you put tar? And as all the years I have been doing this, I kind of don't put tar in the fall or late summer because the metabolism of the tree is very, very slow. But in this case, I'll show you how to apply it. Here I have a tar, and a lot of it comes in a can, or it comes into like a paint can where you can open the lid up and smear it on there with some sort of putty knife. And one of the things it's supposed to do is prevent the sap from coming out or from bugs or anything from drilling in and going in there. Since metabolism and really the bugs are kind of slowing down for the year, I'm not going to really worry about it on the trees that I'm pruning today. But the way you apply it is you just take your can and just spray it on. This one's a particular very, very thin mixture of it. It almost looks like house paint, but you put one coat and you put another coat until it seals the entire log. A lot of things that I also do is if you're going to seal it, you also need to do the sides around the whole thing here. So not only do you do the center, you do the sides. What you'll have to do is, like when you're coming in after, say you do this in the spring and then you have to come back and do it again in the summer. What happens is the tree actually has grown and you'll see cracks. Some places also the sap will have come out through the tar, and it'll have to be repainted again. So that prevents from bugs and ants from coming in. In this particular tree, it's a carob tree, and I would probably, like I say, in the summer or in the spring, I would tar it, but not in the later of the year, because bugs, ants love coming into the sap of a carob tree. So this technique really lends you to really cut any type of plant or application where you really don't have to worry about disease or infections or bugs coming in and giving trouble to your new cuts. When using loppers, it's best to cut close as possible to the trunk. And try to use mechanical advantage loppers so that you really don't have to use that much strength to cut the branch off. Last but not least is the infamous chainsaw. I actually prefer to have electric chainsaws versus gas chainsaws, but both of them have advantages and disadvantages. The advantages of having a gas chainsaw is you can take it anywhere you want to, and you have power. You don't require to have a long extension cord or dependent on someone having a house with a socket around. But however, the disadvantage of having a chainsaw, a gas chainsaw, is that you have to fool around with the two ratio gases, the oil and the gas, and mix it and all that kind of stuff. It's messy with oil and everything like that, and it's like, that's just for me. That's a disadvantage. The advantage of having an electric chainsaw is the power seems to be better than a gas one. I would say 30, 40 years ago when I started my business, gas was only available, and they seemed to be a lot more dangerous at the time, and they still were developing the product. The other thing is the gas. Electric chainsaws have an advantage because they're electric and they have much more power. You can do it in close range around a house or something, but you don't have to mix any gas or any oil to keep the chainsaw going. Now, in both cases, gas and electric, they both have a reservoir for oil, which is like right here. And make sure this oil is filled up. This lubricates the chainsaw itself, and if you don't care about the chainsaw, it will seize on you. The chainsaw generally goes from this way and comes back this way. That means when you're on a log and you're cutting, it'll actually pull the chainsaw toward the log. The trick on using a chainsaw is to not push pressure on it, sharpen it. If you have to push pressure on a chainsaw when you're cutting it, you're doing it wrong. You need to sharpen it. Sharpen it and it will go down through a log like butter. The trick here is to put the chainsaw right at the edge. You can see here on this chainsaw, there's actually little threads for it not to jump. So when the chainsaw is going, it won't jump and it won't fall out of your hands or jump out of your hands. The trick with a chainsaw here is to just put it on the top, have it butt against the body of the chainsaw, and then turn it on. In this case, let me put the electric eyeglasses on, turn on. You can see the direction of the chainsaw and then just relax it while on the log. Now, another trick with chainsaws is sometimes you have to use the top part of your chainsaw in order to be able to cut a branch going up. This is the case when you're cutting a branch off and you want to have it meet on the bottom and from the bottom and from the top. So here, what you have to do is you're going to have to hold it because it's going to be pushing it away from you. But you just do it again gently, just like the original. When using a chainsaw to cut up a branch, like for instance in the case where you want to cut a branch off and you don't want it to rip the rest of the bark off, you have to really hold on to the chainsaw in order for it not to slip out of your hands. However, just do it like you do the other way. You just turn it on and just give a little pressure up to keep it cutting and it'll do fine.